professor at Stony Brook, and Steve will be talking about God and Love on Route 80, the hidden mystery of human connectedness. And I will take 30 seconds to say that last night, among Bob Dylan's 19 songs, were Highway 61. So we have Route 80, Highway 61, it's all interconnected.
Yeah. So I'm just going to run through a couple of things because I don't know really any of you much, but
Mike.
Yeah, I'm just going to run through some events in life, kind of journey story in 7 minutes or less. I don't know most of you. You don't know me, so I don't see why this is not appropriate. So we started off. That was a beautiful presentation on global warming from Michael. I really appreciated that. So when I was 18, I dropped out of Reed College in Fort Oregon and recruited 7 or 8 friends I know from St. Paul's School in New Hampshire. And together we raised money and we actually founded the first marine science program in American history. And that was in Southampton. Eventually it was rated #1 by Princeton Mormons. 4 Nobel Prize laureates came from it. It's now part of Stony Brook, which is rated #4 in the country in marine science. And all the initial work on ocean warming came out of that group. So it's testimony to a comment that I like from Eleanor Roosevelt: the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. That program is going strong. 3 years ago, there were 2 more Nobel Prizes awarded for global warming. So that just shows you what a few kids can do in their youth if they have a dream. Second thing that I just writing these down improvisationally, I eventually quit doing immunology at UPenn, and I went to the Divinity School at the University of Chicago to study shamanism with Mersha Eliade and Joseph Campbell, and work with Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi as his assistant when he was writing his great book on flow using ecological momentary assessment. And our whole theory there was that we wanted the dignity, of course I wanted the dignity of the oceans and the earth, but the dignity of spirituality with a kind of a GPS model, that no matter what our particular tradition, the GPS would get us to where we need to go, which is to this sense of profound oneness with an infinite mind of pure, unlimited love. And that's what I wrote my thesis on. Sort of third point, they sort of got wind of my science background, so I wound up teaching at the Pritzker School and founded a course on teaching medical students compassionate interaction and attentive listening and such things. And then all my day job career, I've been in Michigan Case for 20 years, Stony Brook, and I've been running these programs. My program now is Medical Humanities and Compassionate Care. And I'm happy to say that of all the medical schools in America, per capita, we have more students when they go into their residencies who are invited to become chief residents. And that's because they have an extra quality of empathy and kindness. We really work hard with simulations and feedbacks from day 1 to year 4, and it's really worked very well. So the dignity of patients being treated with compassion has been something I've really cared about over the last, really now 35 years, because it's been quite a long haul. Final point, a couple of other points. I had the honor when I was at Case Western of writing a deconstruction of DSM in the American Journal of Psychiatry, and Peter Steinfeld, who was the writer for the New York Times on religion, got wind of it, wrote a big spread about it. It was a critique of why DSM in psychiatry so trivializes and even pathologizes spiritual and religious ideation. So that became a big thing, and I worked at Columbia in the editing from DSM 3R to DSM 4, which took most of that stuff out, and even included a V code that I put together with Francis Liu from UCSF, that you could interact with patients on a spiritual level, and it's not pathological, and it's billable. But Sir John Templeton, how much time?
2.5.
Okay, Sir John Templeton, who was in Life for Key, multi-billionaire, faxed me. He didn't email, he loved fax. He thought it was the coolest machine ever. And I went down there and we started the National Institute for Healthcare Research. He gave me $20 million. I recruited Dave Larson from the NIMH, And we funded 30 centers around the country for spirituality, religion, and health. And we're able to give people like Harold Koenig, Christina Pilhofsky, people you know, their first jobs and fund those centers, and they're all still going, which is great. So we were able to really revolutionize thinking about that. And then in 1997, I set up a meeting between Sir John Templeton and Marty Seligman of the University of Pennsylvania. Marty at that time was studying learned helplessness in dogs. He wanted to go positive, so they had a meeting at the Marriott Hotel. Sir John loved the laws of life, positive psychology as part of dignity, kindness, humility, generosity, forgiveness, and so forth. And 2 years later, he completely funded positive psychology. I was on the board of the Templeton Foundation. I'm happy to say that we were able to create centers in more than 300 universities around the country, which is a really nice thing. And finally, just a last comment. Sir John was really interested not just in human love, but what he called the love that made humans. He really believed that there's a higher spiritual form of love that sometimes in those mystical moments kind of invades us. I won't go into examples of that, but it's very common. And so he wanted to fund the Institute for Research on Unlimited Love, and that's what I've been doing really since 2000. So it's been going on, this is almost its third decade, and we've funded all kinds of things, including, noetics and ions and all that stuff. A lot of that came through our institute, but any kind of mystical sensibility that there is a higher love in this universe that is, in fact, pure and better and more enduring and wiser and more ubiquitous than mere human love. And so, to quit now, before I get called out of here, I did write a book called God and Love on Route 80, which is a story about how all this happened based on a dream I had when I was 15 in St. Paul's, about a blue angel. And stole my parents' car, across on Route 80, wound up at Reed College, and it's a long story, but that's what it is. So thanks, that's me.
That was a story. Thank you, Steve.